You mentioned that you're pretty selective with the types of properties that you buy today. Can you describe? I mean, after 21 years of experience in this, it's great to get somebody's perspective who's seen so many deals to describe, like, to you, what is a good deal? Like, what would make you pull the trigger on a new deal today? Like, location wise, type of return, type of deal. Is it a flip? Is it a long term rental? What does that look like for you?
First rule for 100%, it's got a cash flow.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm buying a house or a small business or a commercial piece of property, whatever it is, it's got a cash flow. It's got to cover its own expenses. And even if it's a flip, right, you don't want to get caught in a market change where you can't at least break even on a monthly basis. And I understand a lot of markets that's impossible to do. I mean, I can't go and buy a $500,000 house and rent it for $5,000. It just doesn't pencil out. So if I'm going to buy a $500,000 house as a flip, I may still do that, but I want to have multiple exit strategies. And so that's why I don't like dealing with banks. If I'm dealing with a private investor on that $500,000 property and the market shifts and the property's not selling, I can go have a conversation with that private investor and say, listen, here's our plan. We're going to put a tenant in it. We're going to negative cash flow $1,000 a month, but I'm going to cross collateralize this deal and put you in on another rental property I have that does cash flow to give you more security. And we'll ride it out for a year or 2 years till the market gets better, and then we'll sell. Right? You can have these conversations. And all of my investors, we have that conversation up front before they ever invest a dime,
Hmm.
because there will be market shifts. And regardless of thousands of transactions or one transaction, I can't control the markets any better than anyone else. I can read the markets significantly better because of our experience, but I still can't control it. So, yes, I still like single family homes. They are fairly boring at this point, just because I like a challenge. And so when I do get involved in single families, cash offers, we still do. We still flip. We still wholesale some. But I like the creative structures, whether it's multifamily or single families or commercial. Cash flow is first and foremost. So if I'm going to buy, I'll just tell you a quick story about a deal, Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
I bought three houses in February, two in February, one in January, all from the same landlord. He had owned the properties for 7 years, never cash flowed, had a management company in place. Every month there was something else he was writing a check for. It was maintenance, it was vacancies. He just never was able to put money in his pocket. He was dead set on his sale price, which was full retail. And all three of these houses needed $10,000 to $30,000 worth of repairs, updating. So I said to him, his name was Tony. I said, Tony, our cash offer isn't going to make you happy. We told him what it was. It did not make him happy. I said, I'm more than willing to give you your full asking price, but it's got to be on payment terms that make sense so that we can cash flow. Okay. So we bought all three houses with zero money down. He's carrying 0% financing for 10 years. And one of them had a small mortgage. So one of them I took sub two, and then he's got a note for the remainder balance of the sale price. The other two were free and clear.
Hmm.
So this is the first time in 7 years he's actually not taking money out of his pocket every month and gaining about $800 a month. So he did that deal. And we turned around. I made 4 phone calls to sell 3 houses to friends of mine because networking. And I sold it 3 houses to 3 different landlords, all on terms. They gave me small down payments, and I'm carrying their financing for them at 7% interest for 5 years. So these are not home run deals by any means. These are all base hits. But over the period of 5 years, those 3 houses, which was a total of about $300,000 purchase price for all 3, will make $152,000.
Wow.
Okay. The fun part was I didn't want to resell the houses because I'm obligated to pay Tony,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to stay in the middle of my deals. I don't love wholesaling sub twos. I don't love doing sandwich lease options, all these things where you take yourself out of the deal. I want to stay in the deal and control the deal. We bought each property in its own individual title holding trust. And instead of reselling the property, we sold the beneficial interest of each property, of each trust, on payments. And the beneficial interest of a trust is personal property. It's not real estate. So they make a payment to me. I take our profit. I pay Tony. If they fail to pay me, I take it away from them. I'm still paying Tony. I'm taking care of Tony no matter what.
Yeah.
And those are the types of deals that I like doing, right? Like everybody comes out ahead. Tony's coming out ahead. We're making money. My end user is a landlord who wants the property for cash flow and appreciation, but they're not having to use a bank. And honestly, I'm giving them a rate cheaper than they can get at the bank today. So those are the types of deals I love.
Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. And so they still get like the tax benefits, even though it's not, they don't have the title to the property.
Well, the title is in a trust, and they are now the beneficiary of the trust.
Got it.
So the trust is a pass-through, and so the beneficiary takes all of the depreciation, all the tax advantages.
Interesting.
And I'm just getting paid as a note holder, essentially.
Yeah. Wow. It's funny because on this podcast, especially recently, I feel like there's been quite a few people who have done really well, kind of figuring that middle person piece out, how to solve the problem for a seller, and then also how to connect with either, some of them do the sandwich lease option or the sub two deals, but sort of facilitating deals as opposed to just buying and owning real estate, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, those, like you said, those accumulate pretty quickly over time, and you can see how that could create some significant wealth. And are you just focused on Wisconsin, or do you invest everywhere?
For the residential, I'm primarily in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
What my future goals moving forward here are to buy small businesses, RV resorts, self-storage if I can find something decent. There's a lot of competition in it right now. But I'm not tied to where I am. What I am tied to is I got to have somebody I trust, boots on the ground, in the location of wherever the real estate is.
Got it.
Which is getting easier and easier as my network grows. Having people like yourself and other people that I know through podcasting and through events that we put on, that's really where you get to know somebody. And I mean, you want to put your faith in everybody, but the reality is not everybody is trustworthy. So
Yeah.
trust but verify, of course.
Absolutely. And what's driving you to diversify into these other sectors?
Well, when my business partner and I decided to part ways, which was completely amicable, it was, his lack of passion to hold real estate. And he really likes the lending world.
Mm-hmm.
And I have aspirations to hold more real estate and have more mailbox money, because the lending business is a great business, but it's an active business.
Mm-hmm.
And you're only as good as your last loan that you did. And you got to keep issuing more loans because loans pay off. You got to redeploy. So I really eventually want to get to a point where I'll never retire because I love what I do, but I want to be able to have enough mailbox money. My kids, as they get older, if they want to be involved, they can manage that type of stuff versus trying to get them into the lending space.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. And can you tell me a little bit more about the Generations of Wealth platform? You mentioned that you help people learn how to negotiate better. Can you kind of share a bit about how you do that?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things. The Generations of Wealth itself started off, we used to go on a conference every year on a cruise ship. And we became very close friends with the people that hosted it. They decided to no longer have that event, so we took it over. And so we changed the name from what they had it before to the Generations of Wealth Voyage. And that's kind of where it came about. It was that generation of educators passing the torch down to our generation of educators. After that, it's now become more about our kids and our next generation as well. So when we host that event, which happened a couple of weeks ago on a cruise ship to Aruba, we encourage people to bring their families on the conference. And it's it's set up where there's 4 days of conference. They're only for 4 hours each day. The rest of the time is heavy in networking. And to see the kids, I believe we had 18 or 19 kids on the cruise ship, and they are all building their own network in their preteen and teen years. Regardless if they go into real estate or not, they're seeing another way. They're seeing other kids who have parents who think the way we think, and that's been really really awesome. So the Generations of Wealth podcast is not just real estate based. There's guests like yourself, and you had mentioned before, very very smart, intelligent people, but also people that are thinking about the next generation financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It all comes into play. And my tagline is live your vision, love your life. I really want to live a life where we get to do what we want to do when we want to do it, and not be buried by this monstrous business where we have to work 7 days a week. And a lot of entrepreneurs honestly lie to themselves, and they say, well, I'm doing all of this, and someday I'll be able to reap the rewards and get the benefits of all this hard work. However, someday you don't know what your health's going to be. You may be divorced. Your kids may not talk to you anymore, like because you were a workaholic. So I could make a lot more money if I worked 7 days a week. But if I don't enjoy what I already have with the people I already have, what's the point? And so that's really our focus, is having a clear vision for what we want for our personal lives, build a business that fits within what we want for our personal lives, and pass that on to anybody that'll listen.
Got it. Interesting. Very cool. So beyond the cruise, then, is there ongoing coaching that you work with people on building this vision for their life?
Yeah, I run a mastermind called the Circle of Trust, the REI Circle of Trust. And what that is each group, there's 3 of them currently, we get together every 6 months. We stay in a house together, which is important. That's the secret sauce. So for about 4 days, we're immersed in each other's lives, and everybody gets about an hour and a half in the hot seat, so to speak. And we're just a board of advisors for each other. And that certainly is business driven, but it dives into relationships and your health and everything. It's all tied together. And to see people that come into there without any kind of a vision, because that's the first thing we do, is help them establish a vision for their life. And then we hold each other accountable because we know each other so well. If Kirby, you tell me, I really want to work, no more than 6 hours a day, and I want to have 100 rental units by the end of the year, and you're not taking action steps to do that, or even worse, you're chasing shiny objects that are taking you away from that vision, we're here to call you out on that. What we don't do is we don't tell you what your vision should be. So there's a lot of masterminds out there where you have to do 50 deals a year before you're even eligible to join the mastermind. Well, 50 deals a year, that may be what's destroying your life. So physically or
Yeah.
emotionally or spiritually or whatever. So we want to get people to what they deem as success in their vision. And that's how we run the Circle of Trust.